Jump into the worst week of my life. I was with my ex-fiance for 6 years. Loved him with every fiber of my being, wedding planned for August. Refused a job offer so could move with him for his next Air Force assignment. Monday, a call girl from a website called Massage Republic texts him in the middle of the night, saying she's reaching out to old clients because she's back in the game. His phone was at my house while he was flying. I text back she must have wrong number. She says she doesn't. In a moment of brains, I pretend to be him instead of the jealous girlfriend, and call girl gives me all the details. I'm such a fool, this had been happening under my nose for years. I confront him, he claims to be a love addict and promises to change. I consider it for half a second and say no. Cue uncontrollable crying, self-doubt, a battery of transmitted diseases tests, awkward encounters with him, fight over the ring, his mom, who I loved, calling me non-stop and begging me to reconsider, and on and on. And on top of all this, my best friend is marrying his best friend May 11th. Groom doesn't want to rock the boat at this late date and selecting a new best man. Bride says she has way too much in her plate and is begging me to just go through with it and she'll make it up to me. I've never hated a human being as much as I hate him. I can't be in the same room with him, let alone walk arm in arm with him. I understand the whole wedding doesn't need to fall apart because I'm upset. So I just want to not go and spend the day downing the leftover Percocet from my wisdom teeth operation, freaking as many Tinder dudes who can stand to be around me after not showering and burning all his crap. Would I be the idiot if I back out of the wedding? No idiots here. You backing out of the wedding will be an inconvenience for your friends, but that can be solved. Ex-boyfriend screws, but he doesn't have to miss his friend's wedding. You don't have to tolerate his presence. I personally think you should go to the wedding and have a good time there. Ask to be paired with someone else. Bring a hot date if you can, petty, but will keep you entertained. Your ex is part of your friend's lives, this won't be the last time you see him. You will not be an idiot if you don't participate though. I hope things get better for you in the future, OP. Not the idiot. Something similar happened with my brother's wedding, only it was a bridesmaid cheating. She was kicked out of the wedding party or event and I stepped in to make up the numbers. I can't believe the groom wants this idiot standing by him when he gets married. If my friend did this I'd kick them to the curb. They can fill your spot, but would you regret not seeing your best friend get married? Ask to walk with someone else, be seated away from him and demand that he not talk, look or be near you at all. Hell, I think he should be made to leave after the meal if they don't kick him out straight away. No idiots here, you and your best friend aren't idiots, except for your ex-fiance. He's a huge idiot. Don't back out on your friend though. You will be an idiot to her if you did. In 10 years, when you're over this crap, you'd regret backing out on your best friend. Don't give him the satisfaction of thinking you care about him by backing out either. Please hold your head high and get through the day. I don't know you, internet stranger, but you sound like you've gone through a lot. You must be pretty strong. Keep it up. Update. Some of you may also know that my story got featured on major news websites and blogs. It was crazy. I left way too much identifiable info in my post, so pretty much all my social circle knew it was me, and it was also the way most everyone figured out X had been cheating. We had a meeting among the four of us as to whether or not we proceed. We pretty much agreed that not showing up would cause more drama and whispers than if we didn't show up, so we agreed to be civil and stay in our respective places. But having to spend that hour or so in same room with him just fueled me up with adrenaline and pure rage. That led to a bachelorette party that night where I got freaking hammered and honest to God made out with so many guys while dancing, I can't even count. I also ended up having my first one-night stand ever with a 20-year-old super cute guy from our university's wrestling team who was so sweet. I'm not proud of doing that, but I'm also not ashamed either because it made me feel desirable and almost like I was going into the wedding day and rehearsal with some parody since I can be naughty too. X and I were of course paired up at rehearsal, and I hate to admit this, we had an absolute blast with each other. It wasn't a mistake that we had such a great and fun relationship, we are very compatible. It probably also worked because we were able to put the issue on the side and focus on something else. The wedding was very much the same way. We walked arm in arm down the aisle with big beaming and genuine smiles since we were there for our friends. I had prepared a really nasty maid of honor toast that would have praised my friend and her loving relationship, loyalty, and truthfulness. I even included a line about you never know who is going to call in the middle of the night, but as the reception wore on I could tell the weight of the situation was really getting to my ex, and I felt like I really didn't need to twist the knife any further, so I gave a nice, but very generic toast. As night went on, X was more and more out of it and sitting by himself either on his phone or with his head in his hand. I didn't want people talking about him, so I asked him to dance with me, which was actually really nice since we both didn't say anything. At the end of it he put his hands around my face like he was going to kiss me. I would have totally let him in that moment and just whispered how sorry he was and walked away. I got distracted and turned around. He had apparently left the reception. I hate myself for it, but I was so sad to see him go. This wedding is literally the last thing we ever have to do with each other. There's no expectation of got Sundays or Bloody Mary brunches with his mom. We won't argue over how bad Indian pale ale beer smells or who forgot to put gas in the car. Like the reality of him just being able to leave without me arguing that I'm not ready to go yet. Classic introvert or extrovert pairing here, sunken that this is over. Like over. I went and cried uncontrollably in the kitchen of the hotel until the bride found me and cried with for a good half an hour. With that, I knew I made the right choice in being there for my friend. So that is that, wedding is over and done with. No real drama, lots and lots of hurt feelings, and a huge broken heart that I'm not sure how it will ever heal. I wish I could just turn off loving him, but it's not going to happen. Wow. I have to say, wow. Wow at you. You are seriously an amazing, incredible person to have been able to stay and continue with this wedding after everything that he did. And this is something your friend will never forget, that despite all of the pain, you stuck with it for her. You did something most people would not be able to do, not with the grace that you handled it with anyway. I know I would not have. You are obviously an amazing, kind, loyal, and principled person, and one day, if you are ready for it, someone else, someone who gives you the respect and care that you deserve, will be beyond lucky to have you as a partner. So, I never knew my biological dad. He and mom weren't serious, and she doesn't like to talk about him. I don't even know his name. However, when I was 5 she married my stepdad, and he was great. He had 2 kids, twins, 6 years older than me, already himself, and he never treated me any different from them. Like, he literally got himself, his other son, and me matching team jumpers with our names on for when we go to the rugby. Then, last year, him and mom got divorced. I've not been finding it super easy, especially since mom has a new partner now and he isn't as nice to me as my stepdad was, but I'm okay. Here's the issue though. For the 9 years they were married I called my stepdad dad. Like, if people asked me, or I was talking about him, I'd say my stepdad, but if I was addressing him directly I'd call him dad, if that makes any sense at all. I haven't stopped doing it since they got divorced. I've been sleeping over at his house every other weekend and seeing him sometimes on other days to do activities and things. Keep calling him dad. I will admit us hanging out has kind of been tapering off though. Anyway, my big sister offered me a lift to school this morning. She told me when we were in the car that I should stop being so attached to dad and that I should even stop calling him dad. I asked why, and she said that he isn't my real dad. I told her I know that, but he's been my dad for the last decade. She said no, he was my stepdad because he was married to my mom, and now he isn't, so he isn't anything to me anymore. She said that he was letting me stay in things at first to be polite, but now it was getting silly. I'm not a baby anymore, I need to grow up, etc. I asked if this was coming from him or if it was her own idea, and she said, "What do you think?" I'm very upset. I'm on morning break at school RN, and I haven't been able to focus in class all morning. I feel terrible that I've been making him think that he has to treat me a certain way, and I feel like a stupid baby for being so clingy. I talked to my mate about it, and he said my sister isn't being fair, and neither is my stepdad, if this was his idea, but I don't know. I just feel really bad for having been so stupid. I screwed up, didn't I? I'm the idiot, right? Not the idiot. This is a very sweet and thoughtful post. I am sure your dad, stepdad, would be honored to know how much he means to you and how much you look up to him. In fact, I think you should tell him about this. I don't care what anyone says, if you call him dad then he is your dad. Sometimes we get lucky in life and are able to pick our family. This is one of those times. I am happy for both of you to have found each other. Not the idiot. Being a father is not about blood. Time and time again people have proved this. He has been acting as a father for a decade, and while you were growing, so is more meaningful to me. The idiot here is your sister, no doubt about it. Even if that was the way your dad is feeling, she could have used a different approach to the matter. As for your dad, you would never know the truth if you don't confront him. In a way or the other, it will give you the answer to move on from this place of insecurity. Not the idiot. I know it's scary as hell, but you need to talk to him. In the long run, it would be better to find out now how he feels and how he wants your relationship to continue than you constantly wondering what's going on. Your sister lost her mom, then has to share her dad for a decade. She may have decided she no longer wants to share and is acting out. I know it will be bad if you lose him, but it will hurt more if either he slowly pushes you out or you step back and miss out because you think he wants out. I'm a 21-year-old college student currently stuck at home due to a viral pandemic. Both I and my sister, 19 years old, moved back in when our dorms closed and plan to leave back for school in the fall if the colleges reopens. The problem here comes from the fact that this week our parents, mom is 45 and dad is 53, decided to drop on us that mom is 3 months pregnant. Suffice to say, this situation is strange. I didn't dare ask, but my guess is this is a whoopsie child. The thing that really caused issue though was not only are they planning on carrying the kid to term, they have slowly started hinting over the week that they expect me and my sister to stay nearby and be a brother and sister and help them out with this kid. Ignoring the fact that my parents are already past middle age, this will not work at all. I graduate next year and am most likely moving to the other side of the United States or even out of the country. I interned last summer in Germany and plan to apply to the company there. The same applies for my sister as she wants to move to France and work there. Both of my parents know this, yet as I've talked about this over the week they seem like they think me and my sister need to stay close so we can be a family. Last night this kinda came to a head. My dad started talking to me about my plans after college and told me about businesses nearby that I could apply to. I told him that I had no intent to work here because the money I could make in other places is much better. We talked about this for a while before he dropped, "You know it will be hard for you to be a good big brother if you live so far away, right?" This was the last straw for me honestly, and I bluntly told him that I really didn't care and I had no real intent to be in the kid's life. This was the wrong thing to say. Me and him started arguing and eventually, my mom and sister got pulled in. I told my parents that it's incredibly selfish of them to not only expect me and my sister to drop our plans for them and this kid, but to also bring a kid into this world and raise it at their ages. My mom broke down at this and my dad started yelling, claiming that I'm extremely selfish and childish and that I am horrible for shaming them like this. They've been avoiding me since the fight outside of my mom crying to me today about how much I'm hurting them. I just got a call from my aunt calling me all sorts of names including idiot. She says that I am causing my mom and dad a ton of stress and that I owe it to them to be there for my sibling. I don't know how I'm in the wrong here. I'm an adult. This is the first time I've lived at home in 2 years and I have my own life ahead of me. How am I the idiot for just stating facts and not wanting to drop everything and plan around what I think is a mistake? You don't have to be an involved sibling if you don't want to, that's your choice, and I don't believe your parents should insist you stick around and do so, versus applying for the jobs you want in the places you want and taking the next reasonable steps in your own life. However, your comments about them bringing a child into the world and raising it at their ages are ignorant, cruel, and uncalled for. Manage your own business instead of referring to other people's lives and perfectly acceptable choices as mistakes. Everyone's the idiot here, but bonus idiot points to you for not only being in the wrong, but for being cruel about it to boot. You're the idiot. At first, I kinda was on your side, because I also think it's unreasonable for your parents to expect to suddenly change all your plans for your future in order to stay. Then it came to I really didn't care and I had no real intent to be in kid's life, and boy, what a creepish thing to say. Whether you'll stay near home or go to Germany, that child will still be your sibling. Also, you have absolutely no right at all to chide your parents for planning to raise another child. Where do you come off telling your parents they are selfish? Your parents are completely justified in being hurt and angry over your cold and selfish remarks. Everyone's the idiot here. You shouldn't be expected to care for another child when you are starting your life. But this is going to be your sibling, and just because you won't be around often doesn't mean you can't have a relationship with them. You are spiting your unborn sibling because you are upset with your parents. It's okay to be frustrated with them, and it's okay to not really want to be present and be a close family, but it is callous to outright be ostracized a new member of the family. You also don't need to shame your parents for having another child late. Well, it is unorthodox, it happens all the time. My little brother, 26, lives with my wife and I, 30 and 30. He used to live with his girlfriend, but since breaking up, he couldn't afford his own place, so has been living with us since July, rent-free. My wife is due with our first child any day now. Her due date is Jan 2, and I have been working long hours at my job. The company I work for is doing a merge, and I have been putting in longer hours to try and get things done so that when my wife has our baby, I won't constantly be pulled away or called while trying to support her and our son. My little brother works a trade that usually has next to no work during the winter. He does roofing and siding for his friend's dad, and we live in Canada, so lately, he's just been sitting at home playing on his computer or going out with friends. It's been snowing here pretty heavy the last 3 days, and now that it's finally lightened up, we can do the sidewalks. I called my wife on my break, and she mentioned that some of the kids that come by having a hard time getting through the snow. We live by a school and on a corner lot, so we are responsible for shoveling the side as well. I told her to get my brother to shovel the walks. She said she asked him, but he told her he was going out. This was at about noon. I texted my brother and asked what time he would be home. He said around 2, so I asked him to shovel the walks when he got back. He asked when the last time I shoveled them. I got annoyed and told him again to please shovel the walks as I wouldn't be home till around 8. He didn't respond. I got home and saw they were done. When I went inside, my wife was laying down and holding her stomach. Just some Braxton Hicks, she said. I asked her if she was okay, and she said yes, just exhausted from shoveling. I was furious. I asked her why my brother didn't do it, and she said he refused as he is not the homeowner. I went into our basement and lost my crap at him, reminding him that he lived rent-free in my house and ate my food. He told me I was overreacting, that it was just snow, and that him living there didn't mean he was obligated to do my chores. I told him to get out. He left, and about an hour later I got a call from my mom yelling at me to call my brother and apologies, that he has nowhere else to go, and how I shouldn't be acting like this a few weeks before Christmas. I told her he needed to apologize to my wife and I, and that if he wanted to come back, he needs to be contributing going forward. He ended up staying at a friend's last night, and I have yet to hear from him. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. He should have jumped at the chance to contribute in return for the huge favor you are doing him. He should be looking for ways to help out. So many things wrong with his logic, but the big one is him literally watching a very pregnant woman shoveling and not helping out. Good grief, you could probably get more consideration from a stranger. And no, in most Canadian provinces he would not be considered a tenant. Not the idiot. He's living rent-free at your house, and he let your pregnant wife shovel the walks. He's high-king idiot. Not that you asked, but if you ever do let him move back in, you should make it crystal clear to his freeloading back that he has regular duties the whole part of the year during which he doesn't work, and when he does work, he owes you room and board. Your mom said he has nowhere to live. Why can't he live with her? Not the idiot, he's entitled, and if he refuses to pitch in, letting your heavily pregnant wife do the work, I can only imagine it would get worse. Living there rent-free means he needs to make it up with chores, and if he can't see that obligation, then you don't need that stress with a newborn in the house as well. You should attempt to repair the bonds, but I don't think you need 2 babies in your house come the new year. Best off not having him live with you unless he agrees to an amount of chores each week.